Hello, a very good evening. Welcome to Love Talk. Today we are in a different setting.
Yes, we are. It's very nice and sunny, and it's very pleasant. So we came out here to talk to you about something different today, isn't it?
That's right, and we are making the most of the weather since hopefully winter is going. There's a difference between freedom, having certain freedom is important, and the word recklessness. Right? And even if you don't know the meaning of that word, don't worry, we'll talk to you about it in just a second. But keep these two words in your mind. Freedom, whether you're married or single, and recklessness. In a few moments we are going to explain to you how these two words may apply to your love life, how one of them is good, the other one is bad. Let's watch now a testimony. We'll come back to speak about today's topic.
My childhood years were quite confusing. First, I was growing up with my mom and my dad, and things started going really bad. And my mom and my dad decided they can't be together anymore. And so my mom had to go and work abroad, and I was left with my dad and his siblings. And so I didn't know where I belonged. You know, there was a lot of abuse. You called names, you know, every time you tried to do something good, you know, it wasn't good enough. As I was growing up in my teenage years, we migrated to England. My mom and my dad remarried. After that, I decided, you know, I really wanted to get married because I used to always look at my mom's pictures, you know, her wedding pictures, and admire her dress. And I said I wanted, you know, to get married, have a Cinderella wedding. And I did. I had a very big wedding, white horses. And, you know, it was a very, very beautiful wedding, you know. But not knowing, getting into the marriage, I hadn't dealt with, you know, deep issues that I had encountered when I was little. I found myself getting into fights with my ex-husband, you know. The downfall of our marriage started when I discovered he was into pornography, and that just broke me, because for me, I just thought, oh, this just distorted me as a woman. You know, I tried every angle to please him, you know, to dress up. I was thinking, what can I do that would keep him and just look at me rather than any other woman? And it didn't help, really. It really didn't help. It just broke me even more because he didn't stop. And then after some time, I found out he's cheating with my best friend. But within those 10 years, I'd started taking alcohol just to try and suppress the pain and, you know, not understanding why I wasn't good enough, I thought then. So, you know, my addiction to alcohol even got worse. And I met with my ex-boyfriend, and I drank so much alcohol, and, you know, we had a one-night stand. And I realized in the morning, I called my ex-husband, then he was my husband. I called him and I was like, this happened. I'm really, really sorry. I mean, I don't know what happened, you know, sincerely, this is not me. I was just caught in that situation. But then I came back and, you know, we started living together. We went counseling and we spoke, and I even had my youngest child. And then after that, my friend, now it was official that, you know, they're in a relationship. Not long after, he asked for a divorce, and I got so depressed. I just wanted, you know, I wanted to take my life. I found myself in A&E, but I didn't die, of course, because God was there, you know, and I had people around that helped me, the church, you know, that I attend, and they helped me through it all. And yeah, so now I'm very, very happy, you know. I'm staying with my children now, and as a single parent, I'm building my life, you know, I'm getting myself into a business, you know, part-time job, and I've found answers in, you know, different areas of my life. I've discovered myself, my value, you know, I don't need to be crying for a man or begging him, you know. I have greater things and more wonderful things to look forward to. And yeah, my life is happy.
Welcome back. So let's talk about freedom and recklessness. First of all, let's get it out of the way that freedom is something good and being reckless is something bad. Let's talk about the difference between these two words, because everyone wants freedom, right? There are countries that fight for freedom. Freedom is good. It means you are free to do things you've always wanted to do. But being reckless is when a person has freedom, but they don't know how to use it. So they start doing all kinds of wrong things. It brings me to my mind a person who spends 30 years in prison and they've never experienced virtually anything for 30 years. So when they come out, they have this freedom. They want to experience everything in one day, and many of them end up back in prison because they didn't know how to use that freedom.
That's right, and that also happens in relationships. You end up in prison. Yeah, you do. You will see how. I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal
because
it
they
yet.
because they were reckless,
Exactly.
right? Let's talk about freedom first. And of course, when you're married, I would say there are little things, there are small things that you can still have freedom. Because when you get married, you give up of a lot of your personal freedom to be with that person. But there are moments a person still needs some moments of private freedom. Give me a few examples, Helena.
Well, from what I see from you, it's something that does you good. You know, when you have some time to go and play some football with your colleagues, for example, there's nothing wrong with that. Or, you just want to pray by yourself. Sometimes I say, James, let's pray for something. I was thinking about this. Do you want to pray with me? And sometimes, we can pray together, but some other times it's good that you don't pray together, because a prayer is a conversation with God, with your most inner thoughts, those things that only you and God should know about. So, you do need some privacy in that aspect, some freedom, actually. Let me use that word.
We can even say that this kind of freedom, it's something that brings health to the marriage. So, for example, when if I go for a run, I don't like to run with anybody. I like to run by myself. And when I come back, I feel better, I feel more energized, I feel in a better mood. So that half an hour, 45 minutes of freedom that I have by myself is something that betters our marriage. If you have, for example, talking about the prayer, we pray together, but I feel it's very important for me, for her to pray alone, because it's a private moment between you and God. It's like when you are with your husband and wife, you don't want anybody else there, right?
Exactly.
So in that moment of prayer, many times you want to be in intimacy with God. You don't want anybody there. So that is a good moment of freedom in a marriage.
It's a necessary freedom.
A necessary freedom.
It's a necessary freedom. I mean, there are so many other examples, but I know you want to talk to the singles first, isn't it, about this issue?
Actually, I think it's important now, before we go to the singles, we talk about what is it to be reckless in a marriage. Because a lot of people who want to do wrong things in a marriage will take today's program and will try to twist it. They will say to the wife, listen, you heard Bishop say that I need my freedom.
Yeah.
So I need to go out with my friends at night and go to a bar. Listen, that's not the freedom. That's being reckless. Because there's nothing good. You need to ask yourself, is there anything good that will come out of this? There's nothing good that will come out of you going to the bar with your friends, to a nightclub with your friends. And there are moments in our life that we are going to have freedom even if we didn't ask for it. So sometimes you need to travel for work. You're going to be away for a few days. You're going to have a few days of freedom. What are you going to do with that freedom? That's where many men become reckless. They go out, they drink, they meet women, they do things they shouldn't do. In that moment, they weren't free. They became reckless, and like you said, when the person is reckless, they end up in prison.
Absolutely. And for example, what you're saying, ask yourself what you're going to do with that freedom. ask yourself as well, when you have some free time to be free, if you know what I mean. We're all free, but I hope you can understand what we mean by now, is what is this freedom going to bring to my life? For example, my husband loves to go for a run, even if it's late. He will go half an hour, come back. That freedom, that quiet moment without me going with him and always asking him, please stop, I'm out of breath. That makes him feel better, relaxed. It betters his mood. So that was a good freedom. So always ask yourself, what is that freedom that you are thinking about? Like you mentioned, going out with the friends, the boys, every night or every other night. What is that freedom bringing to me? Potential unfaithfulness? So no, I'm not going to do that, because it can potentially, I can't even say the word, bring problems to my marriage. If you are really truthful to yourself, you will see that deep down the freedom you are seeking will not bring anything positive.
And going back to the example of prison, this is proven, these are real statistics, that a very big number of people who are in prison, when they are released, they reoffend and go back to prison. Not one or two, a big number. You would think that anybody in prison would not want to go back there. But many return. Why? Because when they were given the freedom that they always wanted, they were reckless. They used that freedom to cause destruction, to cause chaos. Drinking, going back to people they shouldn't be around, doing things they said they wouldn't do anymore.
I think they kind of take their freedom for granted. It's like in a relationship. You have, your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, talking about those in a relationship for a minute, but sometimes the person takes it for granted. Oh, it's okay, I can be free, she doesn't own me, or he doesn't own me. I'm a free person. And the person is reckless, like you said, they don't know what to do with it, and they mess up everything.
Just before we move on to talk to you who are single, that's where many people go wrong when they move abroad to work, for example. When you go to another country to work, you're going to have certain freedom because you are far away from your husband or your wife. You don't have the freedom of going out every day because you work every day. But some people, when they do have that freedom, they are reckless with it. They go out and do all kinds of things they shouldn't be doing, lose their focus, get involved into debts, into other relationships, and everything goes wrong. That's being reckless. Yep. Let's talk now to you who are single. Because a lot of people will say, look, but I'm single, I'm free. I have all the freedom in the world. I'm free to date. I'm free, I want to date whoever I want. Okay, you can date. Indeed, you are free to date. But some people, they are so reckless with dating one another. They build a catalog of failed relationships because they have all this freedom, they don't know what to do with it, and then they end up getting to the point that they say, men are all the same, women are all the same, because they all disappoint me. No, your selection process, when you were free, was reckless. You saw one that you liked, you dated her. You saw another one that you liked her hair, you dated her. You saw another guy, you liked his face, his muscles, you dated him. So you build this catalog of relationships you've had, 10, 20, 30, because I think very few people, we have to agree, very few people marry the first person they dated. It's very rare. But even so, you don't have to date 20 or 30 before you get married. If you use your freedom carefully for your selection process, choosing someone that matches your ideals, your plans, then you reduce the chance of getting things wrong. You wanted to say something also about being reckless with the freedom.
So for example, look at what reckless freedom can do to you, can bring to you. Sexually transmitted diseases. And what are you going to do now? You see, what I was saying earlier, you have the freedom, but you did not think of the consequences of what that freedom could bring to you when you looked at someone and you thought, I'm going to sleep with this person. I don't know her. The party is going well. She seems nice or he seems nice. things can happen. So you took that freedom to make a bad choice, and now you are in prison. You know what I mean? You are in a situation where it's not a pleasant situation to be in. It's something that brings you suffering, physical suffering, and even emotional suffering.
The truth is that being reckless always leads a person to prison, right?
Or pregnancy, or unwanted pregnancy.
Many things, right? But if you drink alcohol and you drive, you're going to get arrested, you're going to lose your license. There's always consequences to being reckless. There are no consequences to using your freedom wisely, but there are consequences of being reckless. We're going to go and listen once again to a brand new song that we have prepared for this program, and when we come back, we're going to give you the final thoughts of how to use freedom and how not to be reckless. We'll be right back.
I know I may go through many tribulations, but nothing will keep me from trusting you. For I'm secure completely in your promises, and in this faith I know that I will overcome. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor have I seen his descendants beg for bread. I've never seen someone who believed in you and failed to see the greatness of your power. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor have I seen his descendants beg for bread. I've never seen someone who believed in you and failed to see the greatness of your power. He who trusts in you is never troubled. Look up to the heavens and believes in your power. And in this confidence, I'm victorious. Just like the mountain of Zion, I will remain. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor have I seen his descendants beg for bread. I've never seen someone who believed in you and failed to see the greatness of your power. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor have I seen his descendants beg for bread. I've never seen someone who believed in you and failed to see the greatness of your power, and failed to see the greatness of your power.
Welcome back, everybody. So, how do you use your freedom? Well, the first thing you know is that you don't want to be reckless. You don't want to do something that will bring damage to you. So always ask yourself this question. If I'm going to use this freedom, how will this benefit me and my relationship? If you're married, you are in a relationship, you're free to talk to whoever you want on Facebook. You're free to poke and to wave at anyone you want on Facebook. But where will that conversation lead? So always ask yourself this question. I'm free to do this, but will this help me? The Apostle Paul said that he's free to do all things, but not everything is beneficial to him. He was showing us that we have to think before doing something because of the consequences.
Absolutely. I love that Bible verse. You see, the Bible has an answer to everything. And it is what it is. I mean, you are given freedom. It's like food. You know, even if you are very rich, some people that, you know, cannot afford eating lobster and all these expensive dishes, sometimes they dream and they say, you know, if I was rich, I would eat all these wonderful things. But even if you are rich, you cannot eat all those wonderful things because you will become so fat and obese. Your cholesterol will be so high. Your arteries will clog that you will die of a heart attack. So everything needs a balance.
Yeah. And you know, just for us to finish, I think something we haven't said yet today is this: that if it is important to have freedom to do some things, even if there are few things that on the long run can help your marriage, do not deprive your partner of that freedom. If your partner thinks that doing some kind of sport with his friends, something that doesn't affect the relationship, actually it might actually help it, then don't deprive that person of that freedom. A lot of people become controlling. They want every minute of the 24 hours of that person to be with them. There's no breathing space even for the person to go to the toilet and close the door. Sometimes the person goes there to knock the door.
What are you doing in there, love? Well, do you really want me to tell you?
So, you know, there must be, there have to be some breathing moments.
Let people miss you.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yes.
If you are a jealous person, let the person miss you.
There have to be some breathing moments where the person is able to gather their thoughts, to think for themselves, to spend some time alone with God, sometimes praying. And I think if we understand that and you remove the reckless part of having freedom and you use it the right way, your relationship will be more balanced and more healthy. Okay? I hope you enjoyed today's program. Don't forget to share it and send us your questions. We have received a couple of questions this week, but they were private questions. We replied to them directly. Feel free to send us your messages, your questions. We may answer it directly, or if they're not too private, we can answer it here in the program. Okay? Until next time, don't forget to share the program and enjoy now Miracles Can Happen with Bishop Flavio from New Zealand. Bye-bye.